The topic of our panel discussion is bridging the gap. How do we connect the schools and the universities, and empowering the counselors to prepare students for a better university experience? All of us have gone through our experiences, but at our times things were very different. And now we have a lot of opportunities for our students to explore. There's a lot of competition, there are a lot of courses, new age universities coming around. There are a lot of comparisons between, just for an example, the Delhi University and the private universities. So how do we bridge these gaps? How do we tell the student community, the main stakeholder, that what is it in store for them and how can they make the right decision? As parents, are we the right judges? As students, are they the right judges at that age with just 17, 18? Or is it the school's responsibility? So we'll be discussing all of this and much more. So let us start with our discussion with the first question that was raised by a research that we had done. What is the significance of college counseling centers in schools in the present day scenario, especially after the pandemic? How have things changed? I'm sure most of you are aware that a couple of schools, or most of the schools, have now introduced the CGC, the Career Guidance Center, and universities have the CDC, the Career Development Center. So the journey for a child from grade 9 to the end of the college experience is actually rotating between CDCs and CGCs. And who are these people? They are the counselors. The counselors at school, the counselors at universities. As parents, I'm a parent, I have a son who's in grade 12. And at the moment, yes, for the last 3 years, there's been a question mark, where is he going to head to? I've suddenly got back 15 years when I was running around for his school admissions, which is still such a tough job in getting into nursery. So somehow I think that, it's come back to me after 15 years, and now I'm wondering, which university will he go to? So who's that right person for me? Is it me? Is it my son? Is it my family? Who's the right decision maker? So my question to Nilanjana and Tanushri, please suggest to us the significance of this career counseling center at your schools, and how is it helping in the present age scenario?
Thank you, Vinny. I think so you started beautifully, and I hope that we are able to keep up to you. And the way Vinny started, what she did with the exercise also, that is to calm ourselves, okay? And that is how the outlook should be when we are handling students. So significance is important. The reason being that, when we talk about future, we always refer to the VUCA world. We talk about VUCA being volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. But as mentors, as teachers, as school leaders, I think we need to redefine it for our students. We could be visioned to embrace and evolve with change. You could be understanding our students and their needs, okay? C for clarity of reimagined goals, and A could be agility in learning. So that is how our approach should be, and we should work so that the students are able to imbibe these traits. College counseling is not just about applications and colleges and programs. It is also about transforming the mindset, having the positive mindset. We all attended the morning session, wherein Mr. Srinivasan mentioned about, imagine, aspire, and manifest. And these are the things that we need to, encourage our children to do, because it doesn't matter if you are 99 or a 69%. Okay, whether you are 42 or 32 in IB, every child has potential, and that is what College Counseling Center should be able to do, right?
Thank you, Vinny, for putting things in context, and Tanushri ma'am for talking about the VUCA world. When we talk about the pandemic and we talk about career counseling for students, we understand that they are moving from school to college in a rapidly changing world. And what is it that we can do for them? Firstly, career counseling has to start as a dedicated vertical from grade 9 to 12, so that we understand children, children understand us, and there is a joint interest and understanding of the evolution of the child, their aptitudes and their interests. That is, I think, very important. Another thing which I think that the career guidance counseling cell can do, and it has been doing and it has to put more energy into, is understanding the extracurricular activities that a child is perhaps interested in, and create those opportunities for them to, concretize that, because there's internships, there's mentorship, there is social initiative, there is so many things that can happen. And for the child to kind of, access them, a career guidance counseling cell can come in there to help them do that. The third thing that is very, very close to my heart is access. Access to children, who are typically perhaps less privileged, who are differently abled, to ensure that career guidance cell reaches them also and provides opportunities and access which is suited to them. I think that's very important, and that's something that we need to look with more energy post-pandemic.
Thank you, Tanushri and Nilanjana. That was really informative. Now, with this first question, we understand that definitely we need the Career Guidance Center at a school and, of course, at a university. But how really important it is, the investment in doing it. It's like some schools I know have introduced CGC as a subject for school students. So which is such a fabulous idea. Besides studying English, Hindi, maths and other core subjects, study about your own career, what you want to do in life. So again, Tanushri, is the investment towards the CGC space in school necessary? And if yes, again, we'd like you to emphasize on it. Why?
Okay, so I'll start with the employability factor. If I go by the UNESCO science report, though the employability has increased from 34% in 2014 to 47% in 2019, but it still indicates that 1 out of 2 graduates is not employed. And the reason being that the skills are not matching the needs of the industry. The parents and the students, they want the degrees. They feel that this is the careers that they should be getting into, but they are not making the right match. When we talk about departments, like Winnie asked whether the investment is needed or not, every school will have a math department, it will have psychology department, it will have art department. But when we talk about career guidance space, that's an additional responsibility given to the teachers. Now, we need to understand that college counseling is not just about applications like I mentioned, or it's not just about writing letters of recommendation. It is about helping the students transiting from high school to the right fit programs and universities. And how do we do that? The journey begins from grade 9, when the self-exploration starts, mapping their skills to the, the talent or needs that the particular career that they want to get into, preparing them to bridge that gap, and then making the right choice. So I personally feel that, every school should have a career space, and we all are part of that. I think it functions beautifully. We are able to help the students in a much better way.
Thanks, Tanu. My next question to my co-panelist Pushpa will be, is the investment towards an outreach team important in a university? So while now we understand that CGC is something that we look forward to in a school, and an outreach team is something that we're looking forward to at a university level. So while we all know the new age universities now have outreach teams, but let's hear it from Pushpa about her experience as an outreach manager.
So I would want to start with, I'm sure we all have heard, a thing well started is half done, right? So a thing well started means when we talk about career counseling, it is not a choice that you can make after 12th. just like you cannot choose subjects right after 10th. You have to continuously evaluate a student, a parent, and the counseling team has to continuously work on a student as a project, that where is he headed, whether it is through psychometric counseling, one-on-one meetings. So I think on both ends of the table, whether it is the school side counseling or the college side counseling, we have to work hand in hand and ensure that students get the right information. Where from the university perspective, I see that many university colleagues would plan sessions or activities only focused at grade 11, 12. So if I have some university fellows here, I would say start planning activities or engagements for them from grade 9 onwards, so that they can also understand what the industry or what a university program entails and what it needs, and is it what they're really getting. So something like an industry immersion program where students can come to different university departments and do workshops in that department. Not really information sessions about, I mean, in the last session I heard, this is also a requirement from the school end. So I think investment in a career counseling department at the university and a career guidance cell at the school is not only important, but imperative in today's world, because with a lot more information, there's a lot more confusion, and children need all the more hand-holding.
Exercise for you all. We've spoken enough. Every 10 minutes, there'll be a question audience, so be prepared. You will be, I know some of your teachers, and हमें आदत है अंदर से questions पूछने की, right? So my question to each table, and I'd like to get an answer from each table. Yeah, what is the role? Now we've given you a little overview, right? We want to know what is the role of a career counselor, after which, Tanushree and Alanjana will probably, share their views. So from one table, one answer, please. What is the role of a career counselor according to you?
Any volunteers?
Yeah? Was it a raised hand or was it just a... Okay. Sure. Well, I think I left you with no choice.
I think my name is Salil Pandey. I run a small company called VMOC. The role of a career counselor, in my mind, for young students is to really just make them inquisitive and just let them truly understand that there is something called careers, there's something called skills, there's something called something beyond the classroom that eventually I had to take up, and that's going to be part of my journey. I really don't think the role of a career counselor is just giving them exposure to path A, path B, path C. That is somewhere down the line. Initially, it is all about just creating the inquisitiveness, like, okay, what is going on? What are these things? And I have a question that I'll come back later on.
Sure. Very well said. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Which table should I go to now? Next. Oh, yes, this. So, as prizes, we've already kept some sweets for you on the table.
Thank you so much. I think as a career counselor, it's a very, very deep and a very strong responsibility that counselors have on their very small shoulders. But the biggest thing, I think, is to constantly ask your students to reflect on what dreams they have, what aspirations they have, what is their aptitude, what is their attitude. And as a counselor, when I was a counselor, I would encourage them to ask the right questions and find the answers within themselves. External auntie, uncle, brother, sister, friend can only be their life. The students have to literally chart their own path, and that they can do best once they keep asking themselves the right questions and coming up with what sits well from within them. That's it.
Thank you. Very well said again. Thank you so much. Anyone from this table? Or there? Okay. Yeah. Sure. Then we'll come back to you.
As per me, the role of a counselor is not only to know about the students, but to introspect ourselves, that how we can help the students. Besides understanding the students, how can we enhance our skills and then helping the students. So I think that is an addition to what others have said. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm actually a farmer living in a rural area, and I greatly admire all the career counseling that is taking place at the great schools of the cities and towns. I think a career counselor should think of imparting career counseling in the rural areas. Those kids are absolutely unaware of what is available to them. So if you have an organization like this, why don't you form a little team? And I don't know where you go, wherever you go, but go into a rural area. We did this once in Dehradun, and kids came down from the hills. It was supposed to be a one-day thing. It went on for 2 or 3 days. They just wanted to know, what can we do? We have no idea at all. So I think my suggestion is that the career counselors need to think beyond their schools.
So I think very right, sir. Our theme of IC3 this year is also access. So give access to all students, colleges and universities. So working towards that, and as a university representative, myself and Vinny, we are very, very open. And we discussed in the last session also that giving access and reaching out to, tier B and tier C category cities and schools. And definitely that's on the plan, for sure. I think that was Ajay's session.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, sir, for articulating it so beautifully. I also have a couple of perspectives. A role of career counselor is limitless. A role of career counselor is to help the child go through this discovery path where he discovers his true potential and finds that place where he doesn't aspire to be what he wants or what he can, but he aspires to be something that he's not even imagined. He becomes the best version of himself, and he contributes in the most efficient manner in this world. All of us have a purpose in this world. That's why we are born here. We need to find that sense of purpose and contribute it in this society. Our role is to help our students find that purpose. Why do sports persons are so successful? Why do we recollect Dhoni, Yuvraj, and Sachin? Because they found their purpose very early in their life. So we as career counselors are also working with youngsters right from the age of 11 to say 16, 18. If we can help them find that purpose and their true meanings of life, I'm sure they would be super successful as anybody in the sports or media industry. Yes, ma'am. 100%, ma'am. Yeah. Ma'am, we are an ecosystem. Student at the center stage, collaborators, parents, school, and the administration. I mean, school in terms of counselors and the entire administration should also be with us. If the academic teams does not provide us the required engaging sessions or time, we won't be able to do what we are supposed to. So we are responsible equally to educate our families as well as our students. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Thank you.
And one last from her, and then we move on because there's also an interesting video that we want to show to you. Yes. So yeah, please go.
Okay, I'll be quick. I'm Carrie from Binghamton University, and one of the things that I think we understand the most is we need to dispel those myths that students think may be true that are not necessarily true, and to help them make an informed decision, whatever that may be. Sometimes it's understanding that choosing a major is not necessarily the same thing as choosing a career, and understanding what options are available to them from that early age so that they can make an informed decision, and collaborating with the parents and with all of those stakeholders so that the student has their best interest in mind when they go to make those decisions.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Sure.
Good evening, everyone. I completely resonate with Sir's point. Ours is a school in a remote area, sir. We work on a no donation basis. Plus, our principal, her motive is like to give the best to the children. We both from our school, we graduated in the 4th cohort. And I feel counselors are learning each and every day as a counselor. Like the moment we started the counseling journey, this is the first year we have started the career counseling pathways and everything in our school. And till the time we have attended so many forums, like the conference we are attending now, so every session we attended, it's like every new thing we are getting to learn. So first, as in like we need to update ourselves so that we can give best to all the stakeholders, as she mentioned, not like parents, children, and everyone. So we are working on the same pathway, sir, as you said. We want our children to give the best, and like as the crowd is underprivileged over there. So still, we are ready to serve them the best one. Thank you so much.
A good thought, and of course, we should work around those areas where we personally feel counseling services are not there, and of course, collaborate with each other. So now, this question is well answered by everybody. I think we've got the answer, so we would not waste further time on it. We very well know the role of a career counselor. Small video for all of you to see. Are we ready with the video, please? Sure. Can we dim the lights a little bit? Yes. This is on a lighter note, by the way. It's not an educative video.
So the reason I became an engineer was because of two things. I was good at two things. I had math skills and I was good at problem solving. And when you're good at those two things, no guidance counselor ever says you should be a comedian. They would be fired. So they said you should be an engineer, so I went and became an engineer. Makes perfect sense, right? Over here, if you got people skills, you're good with people, and you're good at problem solving, you're probably going to go into management, right? Makes perfect sense. Over here, if you got OCD, everything has to be exactly right. And you're good at math, you are an accountant, is what you are. The accountants were high-fiving over there. I have never seen an accountant high-five. Yes, he got us right. That joke adds up perfectly. That is accountants, though. They can't solve any problems, but they can identify them. That's an accountant. An accountant will go, you gotta fix this. Over here, if you're into drinking and you have people skills, you're in sales is what you are. Are you in sales? That's always the loudest yell. Without fail, they always the loudest. Over here, if you're heartless and you have OCD, you're in human resources. No heart whatsoever. And if you're heartless and into drinking, you're a lawyer. And if you're all those things, you are a comedian.
Now, the next question that we'd like to move on to is, of course, do you think that it's more productive for the universities to collaborate with high schools that have empowered college counseling cells, and why? And for this, I'd like Pushpa to please answer the same.
So can you repeat the question, please? I'm sorry. I was in a different zone.
Do you think is it productive to collaborate with?
Absolutely. As I said, from the discussion that we just had and everybody contributed, that starting early is the key. I'm sure everybody agrees. And reaching out to more and more students as well as parents is imperative. So that definitely cannot happen without universities reaching out to schools and schools giving or accepting us with open arms. In my experience with the university counseling, I have seen that at times it is very hard for us to actually break into a school and request them some time. So, I think at that point, schools should also understand it's mutually, a good win-win situation for both. The university is coming there to impart information so that you can pass it on to your students, so that your students and parents can make better decisions. And at times, when you counsel a parent, as a school counselor, they may think, oh, she's giving us gyan. But when you, I as a university representative tell them, this is my requirement, the student will have to go through this and this test, and this is what is needed for the course, they may receive it a little better. So I think working together is the norm, should be the norm of the day. I can only say that we are happy and we are willing to go out as university representatives to everywhere, all parts of this country and overseas. But please, we expect that same benevolence from the school side. And I think it is going to create opportunities for everybody. So,
I completely resonate with Pushpa's view where the role of an outreach team in a university is very important. And of course, reaching out to maximum schools is our motive. And informing the counselor, the teachers, the parents, the students, what best than to hear it direct from the horse's mouth about the various courses, the various facilities on campus, where are we located, you know. As first-time students getting into university, everybody has a million questions to ask. And when the team reaches out to you, I think it's a great opportunity. And coming to my next question is, what are the ways that we reach out? So at our universities, we generally follow two ways. One is the formal way, connecting to the schools, and one is an informal way. So when we say formal, we mean when you invite us for summer school fairs, for career fairs, and informal ways of interactions are, you know, these wonderful summer school programs, winter school programs, the master classes, the weekend workshops, the campus tours that the universities are now organizing to let students come. Another segmentation of the programs is what we call as outreach and in-reach. So when your outreach is when we come to your schools, and in-reach is when you all come to our universities. I think it's absolutely fantabulous. We just had a summer school in my university a couple of months back, and we had 65 kids from all over the country come in, and to see that diverse group was amazing. The children, the students were excited. There was so much that they took back. I mean, they've gone back so happy. And in a similar manner, there are so many other programs that the universities are now organizing because we're understanding the needs. And that is the best way to bridge the gap. How do you prepare a child to come to a university? The university where he or she has to spend 4 years of their life. Why don't you just come and see what we have in offer to, you know, showcase? Similarly, when we come to school, we can come with a limited, so we may have a faculty member. I'm joined here by Dr. Partha Chatterjee, who's a very senior economist and an economics professor at the university. We've gone and done so many outreach programs with him, but that's only 1 or 2 faculty members that I can carry with me for a info session. But when you all come, when the children come, when the parents come, when the teachers come, the principals come, the counselors come, there is a whole array of things that the universities are now doing to showcase what all they have and what is there to offer in terms of programs, infra, so much more.
So with that, I would just like to add here, Vinny has almost covered everything that we traditionally already do, but I got a very, very good, suggestion in Ajay's workshop, the room next to us, and I must acknowledge and reiterate that he said we should do more like industry immersion or, immersion sessions with the faculty so that students get to understand what this field means. So let's say in media, it could be a workshop in animation and VFX, sound engineering or filmmaking or hospitality. They can do some culinary workshops. In engineering, they can do a robotics workshop. They come and visit the facility, look at the university, meet the faculty, do something in that area. I think that will give them more clarity as students that whether this is what I want to carry on in life. And so I think we are open for industry immersion sessions. In fact, I'm just doing one on 26th right after the conference at my university. So we'll be looking forward in case, all of you would want to plan something like that, and we would, in fact, perpetuate that to other university fellows as well in case any one of you will be interested in that kind of an immersion.
The next question to Nilanjana would be, what are the best practices that can be institutionalized which can assist in empowering the career counselor?
Thank you for that question. There can be many best practices, but these are some of them that I feel are absolutely imperative for a school which has a career counseling cell to have. There was, I think when we talked about the role of the career counselor, there was this talk about, involving parents. That's extremely important. The career counseling cell needs to have dedicated time, focused time and interaction with parents and students. They can be in the form of individual interactions, they can be in the form of group sessions. Ideally, it is also a good idea to have a dedicated timetable CGC slot for students in high school, 9, 10, 11, 12, as the timetable permits. We have it in our school. I think a lot of, I think Tanushree ma'am also has it in her school. It really makes a lot of sense to do that. It creates a connect with the counselor. If they have it cohort-wise or any of the students, you know, the point is for the counselor to get to know the student as he or she evolves through high school. That's really important. The other thing is that there should be a steady flow of communication between the CGC and the parent and the student group, you know, telling them about competitions, research opportunities, mentorship. The earlier question talked about how the universities can, ably support the stakeholders. So they are giving us this information, how do we pass it on? So that kind of communication has to be on a very regular basis between the CGC and the student and parent body. That's, I think, very important. Another thing is, which I think is also quite crucial to the career guidance cell, is to have a very up-to-date alumni data. Which college did they go to? What are the courses? You know, understanding where they are 2, 3, 4 years down the line. It's very important to have that kind of data. And I would say, have your alumni come and talk to your students. You know, because they listen, you know, a child who's in grade 11th and 12th will listen to somebody who's been his senior. That's going to make so much more sense to them. So if you can have them on a regular basis, you know, as in when they are here, talk to them, it's going to have a, you know, impact on them. If possible, also ask parents, ex-parents, to come and talk. We've had them, and the result has been stupendous. It's been very, very successful, the connect that has been created. So that's, I think, very important. I touched about that point earlier also. You know, we all give information about applications and whether SAT's happening or ACT and all of that. That's there, that's a part of it. But to have information that is really, you know, well sorted out, well presented, that's also very important. Children, you know, just go to Google and get their information. That may or may not be a really credible source, but you are a credible source for that child. So your knowledge has to be up to date and given to the child in a way that is friendly for that child. You know, don't just hand over Excel sheets, but something that is just useful for that child. So that's, I think, also pretty important. And from the perspective of, you know, as a profession, I would say, as counselors, we need to keep upskilling ourselves. That's really important. I think a lot of people talked about how, you know, we need to keep learning. Every child is a learning for us, and it truly is. The more we upskill, the better we can work with our children. Because at the end of the day, the child is the most important stakeholder, and we are empowering the child. And to do so, we have to be empowered ourselves, and that's, I think, really, really important. So those are some of the things I think we can all do. And Vinny? Yeah, thanks.
Thanks. My next question to Tanushree would be, why is it important, again, from your point of view, that schools and universities should collaborate, and how?
Okay, because why we should collaborate, I think so. You all have spoken about it, and even a few of you also spoke about it. I will just share my personal experience. You know, it has been really, really helpful as far as I am concerned. Because, you know, we are almost bridging the gap. What Nilanjana also mentioned, that everything is there on Google. But what you can do when you visit the campus, when you encourage your students to go and visit the campus or attend the summer schools, it really helps. We have an internship program. It's very much a part of our curriculum. When curriculum as well as we have the IB curriculum. So the subject choice, the way we do the subject selection is, it's a lot of effort that we put in. In fact, when we're talking about the stakeholders, ma'am mentioned about parents, student is the focus point. Teachers, definitely, they do play an important role. CGC can't function without the support of teachers. But another factor is leadership and management. If they do not understand the importance of the career guidance space at school, it gets very difficult to function. So as far as I'm concerned, the principal of my school, she sits through all the one-on-one interaction that we have with our students when they're deciding about their subjects or curriculum. Our chairman knows each and every student on why they are taking a subject, are they aligned to it, and whether they are getting into the right fit, the best fit program. And I feel that each one of you who's sitting here has a supportive leadership and management. And that's the reason why they have encouraged you to come and be a part of the IC3. If your leadership, management, principles are with you, life is going to be very, very easy. It's going to be easier for you to convince. Another important factor, like what Winnie said, when we talk about internships, we look at our parents. We seek their support to place our students for 2 weeks to understand the careers that they want to take forward. And I have seen that, there were 2 students of mine who wanted to do theater. The first shock that they got was the timings. The weekends were busier. They were mostly working during the evenings. So one person came back and said, I'm not going to do this. And the other person came back and said, I have absolutely fallen in love with it, and I'm going to take that forward. When we talk about our relationship with the institutes or universities, our children have done their internship with universities as well. They have done it with JNU, they have done it with IIT. Winnie, I bothered her during the last winter. 2 of my students wanted to do an internship, and they wanted to work in the labs, both science students. Now, definitely, I just can't call up the universities and say that, hey, 2 of my students want to do their internship. I sat with them, I understood why they want to do it, what background work they have done. I spoke to Winnie. Winnie told me that it's holiday time right now, but let me go back and check with my professors. She was able to convince the professor, Dr. Sukumar, who was going on leave. He stayed back. He trained those 2 students, and they both had such an amazing experience. And there are many other institutes. Just because Winnie is here, I just took that example. So it's very important that we take care of all the aspects, whether it's students, teachers, leadership, universities. If we all work together, I think our children will do really well in their life.
Very true. And just to add on to this, another way of engagement, which, like she mentioned, is internship programs. So it's a mandate in some schools that grade 11 students need to do compulsory 2 weeks training, internship, whether in the social sector or corporate sector or wherever. We had a bunch of students come into our university and work with our department at the AIC, Atal Incubation Center, with startups, with students, and they learned so much more. So these are some innovative ways the universities are creating opportunities for students to come, not only for summer schools, winter schools, workshops, webinars, etc., but for also gaining a certificate, and then at the same time understanding what the university looks like, interact with our staff, faculty, and most importantly, student community. The connect that the student, high school student has with a university student is much more than what we all can even think about. They have a different connect, they have questions, they have queries, because these students who are in 2nd or 3rd year have just come out of where these high schoolers are still. And so that's, of course, an informed choice which the universities and schools should make to collaborate. And yes, coming back to our main topic, which is empowering counselors, the best way is to connect and let them know that these are the programs that the universities offer. Please come, enroll your children. We are open to engagements of various kinds. We also have a program called the Dean's Forum where we invite principals, vice principals, headmistresses, headmasters to come and talk. So these are some ideas that we are giving to university delegates right here to organize such events, to open up the doors to the school children to come and experience firsthand. Enough of giving away our brochures, which everybody is doing down below, but there's a lot which when you hear, when you see, when you experience is what you remember the most. So the last question of the day is, then we'll open the floor to question and answers, is 3 things that the counselors should be mindful of while preparing students transitioning into college. We are at the university, okay, we're looking at students walking in, but how prepared are they, you know, and who's going to prepare them? And do they really need any preparation in the first place? We don't say, oh, you've got to follow these rules, there's a handbook, you've got to follow that. But how is it that the counselor can be mindful of giving some tips to students before they actually step into the big bad world of, you know, outside school, which is totally free, and there's so much freedom all around.
So one thing that I think works very well is, you know, if we work with the child in a manner and give them options or help them understand who they are, reflect on them, and then choose the course and college accordingly to ensure that there is a right fit. If there is a right fit, once they transition onto college, it's going to be, you know, much more easier for them. For example, you know, does a student want to go to a college which has the class size of, say, 600 versus 60? What would they be more comfortable in? Something as simple as geographical area. Are they looking for some place which is sunny or very cold? What would they be comfortable with? You know, these are small things, but they can actually impact the mental well-being of a child who's just 17 and, you know, going into, not the big bad world, but going into a world which is not so structured as it is in schools, because schools are very structured and colleges are not. How does the child do that? Just keeping these little things in mind may ease the process. And if it is a right fit, it's going to be that much more easier, you know. Is the college in a university town or is it in a big city? Is there a hostel? Is there not? So these things can be kept in mind in creating a list of colleges, and once they get in, it can help in easing the process of, you know, going into that college and settling down. Another thing that I'd like to just talk about is making the child understand that because there's not going to be so much structure, the child also has to reflect on what he or she wants out of those 3 or 4 years. What are the experiences that they need to, you know, undertake, and what is going to provide them the most? So these are a couple of things I think that I would, as a counselor, you know, tell them about. Tanushree ma'am, would you like to add?
I think Nilanjana has said, you know, she has covered most of the points. One thing, if, you know, the counselors are here, I would suggest that keep on updating yourself. Because, you know, and it's very, very difficult because most of the students are looking at various options. They are not only looking at Indian universities, but they are realizing that for undergrad education, they can look at international universities as well. Yes, there could be a possibility that they have financial constraints, so update yourself on scholarships as well. Universities also want driven students, and many of the students do get 100% scholarship. Create the list accordingly, you know. If they are looking at need-based scholarship, then obviously the list is going to be different. If they are looking at merit scholarship, then it depends upon which universities offer that. You do that accordingly. And remember one thing, we need to use different strokes for different people. We can't have the same plan, even with the same scores, we can't have the similar kind of a plan. So it's very important that we have individualized plan for each and every student. Because of their background, because of their needs, they might have a different kind of a learning need. Okay, they would want to get into a research space. They want a small size school. location becomes very important. There is one student of mine who can get through any place or any country that she wants, but then because of certain circumstances at home, she doesn't want to move out of the NCR region. So then I have to look at the best possible option for her. So it's going to be very, very different. So that's the only point that I wanted to make.
So thank you, Nilanjana, Tanushri, Pushpa. And with this, we come to an end to our session, 3:20. We'll have the question answer session for 10 minutes before you want to move on to the next session. But before we end, there's one more slide you want to see. Want you all to see. Again, on a lighter note, the students are like, I don't know what to do with my career. I don't have any help. And that's like, aise kaise dear, we are here. So that's the counselor speaking, Paramhans Vidyapeeth, whatever. So just on a lighter note. Now, any questions, anyone? Yes. Oh, lots of them, okay. It's all coming back.
I was holding my questions. Thank you. It's a very revealing session to hear from all of you. My question is very simple. I have two kids actually that are actually studying in a great institution that I really love. They spend 80% of their time, maybe 90% of their time studying subjects, like courses. And 10% of the time is actually in my mind, I don't think it's an 80-20, it's a 90-10 rule between career, 10% on the career and 90% in the classroom doing math, physics, whatever it is. We're talking about careers for our kids right now, while in my personal opinion, I think it's majors. That's what they really should be thinking about. We must connect the majors to careers because otherwise you have the missing link right now. And my daughter could do like 10 internships, but still have no clue what major should she take. So again, you have to do further segmentation about like India versus abroad. India, it's mostly competitive exams through which you get, so then I think you don't have to do anything. You just have to prepare very hard your CBSE or whatever exams are and just do well in the competitive exam like I did. And I went to IIT, but I was not prepared to go to IIT. When I went to IIT, I was like, holy cow, where have I landed myself? I'm the biggest loser here because everybody is so smart. So I think I wasn't prepared to go to IIT. But when I went to the business school in the US, I actually had done a little bit of preparation and still I was not prepared. I think I just said a lot. What I'm trying to say is every classroom, every class they take is the seed for their career. Yeah. And good business schools, like I went to University of Chicago, but I can tell you schools that actually have taken this to heart and they teach through case studies, they teach in all the classes that my business school, they brought in for an industry person. I remember all those classes. Inside the classroom, I remember the guy came from Puma and there was a case study about the shoe and Italy and Milan and all that stuff. I still can relate to that. Sanjay Dhar, professor of marketing, he gave a case exam on which I worked for 48 hours non-stop with open books. It was from Johnson & Johnson on AccuView and different shades for different dates kind of stuff. So I think we should absolutely be thinking about how do we take this career and major selection inside the math class, inside the physics class, inside the economics class, number one. And number two, how should we make sure that all this 2-week stuff that is going on, my daughter also did it, and we spend so much time and all of that stuff, but how does that connect to the major? Because their immediate decision is yet not a career. Their immediate decision is still, what's my major? What am I going to do? Am I going to be liberal arts? Or am I suited for liberal arts? Or am I suited for this or suited for that? Sorry, it was just...
No, I completely agree. I think we all have heard also, many people say when English was to be promoted, you know, there was a saying, people were saying, every teacher is an English teacher, right? Only the English teacher is not the English teacher, but every teacher is an English teacher. And I think when it comes to career, we often say it takes a village to raise a child. I think to create a career and match the right, it takes the whole school to, you know, reach there. So I think from every teacher is English teacher, we should move to every teacher is a counselor. And we just did a workshop on that one. And as university representatives, we are promoting that dialogue. And as school counselors, I think everybody present here should promote that. Every person requires to be contributing to the child's creation of the career path and choosing the right choice. So yeah, that's what I had to say. Vinny, you had to say something?
No, I completely agree with what he's saying. Like I said, CGC sometimes is a subject in some schools. But since the focus of our parents is so much on मेरा बेटा engineer ही बनेगा और उसको doctor ही बनाना है, अभी भी वही rationale चल रहा है, people are not progressing. I mean, I know of a friend of mine who's doing so well. He's the CEO of a company, but he says, well, I'm into marketing and I wish I'd studied a little bit harder and become an engineer. And now I want my son to become an engineer. So I was like, at our age, even now we think, so it's the parents also who are also at fault because we are the ones who are pressurizing and the schools are exactly delivering that same to us. I mean, I know of parents who complained to the schools in online education and said, आप ढंग से नहीं पढ़ा रहे हो, आपने फ्री क्लासेस दे दी, आपने इतने फ्री पीरियड्स दे दिए, आज क्लास नहीं हुई, आज ग्लिच हो गया, प्लीज़ पढ़ाइए. Give it a break. Look at what the child is going through. There's mental trauma, there's COVID all around, the children are not living a normal life. Can't they have some time off? Okay, we may not be able to finish 100% course, but 70% course finished in an emergency time like this is fine. So we need to relax ourselves as parents. Put less pressure on the children. Finally, that pressure, of course, will be eased out by the school. And of course, in that case, you'll have more time to tell the child what all he or she has to offer. And like I said, yes, career is not the main objective right now. I think it's so important for children to find their path. What path they want to take? Are they actually doing what we're telling them to do? And most of the times, it's still happening. If parents, as parents, introspect and ask कि मुझे अपने बच्चे को वो बनाना है जो मैं नहीं बन पाई और बन पाया. So that dream somewhere comes around. Why do we have to force our aspirations on our children? Let them be, they have their own life. So give them, if they fail, never mind. So many successful people have first failed and then risen to what they have today. So that's my thing. Someone out there, the next question?
Good evening all. I'm Nafisa from Saudi Arabia. I just wanted to answer what Sir said. I really agree with him the way he said, my daughter is doing so many internships, and no matter how many internships she's doing, but she doesn't know what major she's going to take. So what I do at my school, I just want to talk out loud about that. We work on our students, like I work on my student from grade 9. Like as you said, grade 9, they are blank. They're just a blank slate. So we are the ones who are going to take out the challenge in them. We're going to make them exposed to all the things that they have never been exposed to. And from there, we start building them. So grade 9, they have a different personality. Grade 10, maybe they are having much more changed personality. So again, their perspectives change. The way of thinking changes. So a career counselor is not grade 12, not grade 11. We need to work from them grade 9. So I do that, so I just wanted to talk about that.
And also with the new NEP coming around, things are now changing. The new NEP says you start exactly from grade 8 or 9 when you start, mobilizing the efforts towards the course that they want to take, the path they want to adopt. So I can see a flashcard there which says 1 minute. So I don't know what to say. Yes, please.
All right. Well, my name is Charushila. I run an independent consultancy, and we've been working with students, helping them connect to top colleges, universities. I had the privilege of spending some time with Professor Kalyanjit Roy Chaudhary, who was the head of Department Economics at St. Stephen's. And I remember questioning him once that, sir, why is it that, these cutoffs in Delhi University, they go so high for economics, and it's even higher than BCom honors and everything else. And he gave me a very interesting answer to that, which was kind of linked to what the gentleman there was also mentioning. Careers can either be specializations. So you do law and you become a lawyer. You do MBBS, you become a doctor. You do architecture, you become an architect. So they become a means to an end at the end of the day. Whereas we as counselors, our primary responsibility is also to look at these subjects or these majors or these opportunities more as ends in themselves, which means just because you study economics, just because you study a double major, or just because you do whatever you're doing at college, or school, you are essentially becoming analytical, logical, critical thinker, researcher, and all of that. And I think that is the biggest role of a counselor, to allow this international education preparedness or college preparedness, so to say, to become interwoven with life preparedness. If at all we can focus on communication skills, research abilities, critical thinking abilities, and what Sir very beautifully had pointed out, that collective consciousness increasing, we've done our job beautifully. And in fact, this is a question also that came from a student once to me, that, why do I have to do these community engagement projects, volunteer work? I'm not applying to a study, college abroad, perhaps. And I was like, do you really think universities are wanting to subject you to this? Why do you think they're doing this at all with you? They're actually doing this with you because you are used to your air-conditioned environment, where you get out of the air conditioner, sit in an air-conditioned car, go to an air-conditioned school, come out of that. And maybe some of us don't have that privilege, but still we are mollycoddled at home at the end of the day. So collective consciousness increasing with college preparedness, which is linked to life preparedness. I think if that can come together, we've done our
Thank you
job.
so much. That was the final note we all wanted to say. You said it on our behalf, and that's how we conclude our session. Time's up. That's the board right there. आप थोड़ा आगे आके दिखाइए ना सबको, तभी पता चलेगा time's up, नहीं तो लगेगा मैं ही finish कर रही हूँ session. But so nice to have all of you here. What an engaging audience you've all been. Thanks for your patience, and wonderful connecting with all of you. And we hope to continue these sessions again. And thank you to IC3 for giving us this opportunity to express our thoughts and come out in the open. Thank you. All the best.